So just to review, all you have to know is the following. Okay, the Ravid holds, and I assume everyone here remembers the Gemara. What?
Should I get the whiteboard?
No, we don't need the whiteboard. Okay, let's just assume for now. Real quickly. In other words, remember the Gemara's case. There's two cases. The two Gemaras. Case one is Chassan and his people pater from Sukkah. Case two is Chassan and his people whether or not to pater from Kriya Shema. Okay. And tefillin. So now we're just dealing with Sukkah. Let's just focus on Sukkah. So the Ravid says our Gemara must be a case of Asuk Mitzvah. It cannot be a case of Asuk Mitzvah Pater Mitzvah. Why? Because if it's Asuk Mitzvah Pater Mitzvah, the Ravid must hold that if I'm Asuk in Mitzvah A, what happens to Mitzvah B? Doesn't exist. So then why would the Gemara ever ask a question? The Gemara says, why is he Pater? And the first answer it gives, why not eat and be happy in the Sukkah? Well, what do you mean be eating and be happy in the Sukkah? You're Pater. It doesn't exist. There's no Sukkah. Right? So clearly the situation of Chassan is not one of... Right. So therefore, okay, so that's all you have to know. So what is it a situation of? Mitztayer. Now, if it's a situation of Mitztayer, so how does the Gemara going to work? So the Rav has a svara for the Ravid, which is a fascinating svara. Okay, fascinating svara, I think. So let's take a look what the Rav says. Rambam is in the Hilchos Sukkah, Parak Vav Halacha Gimel and Daled. Read the Rambam.
וחתם כל ואחו השושבינים וכל בני חוקה פטורים מן הסוגר כל 7 ימי.
All right, so far so good, right? So the Adal's Chayev and the Chassan and all his buddies are pater from Sukkah, all Shivas Mei Mishnah. Keep going.
Shluchim mitzvah pturim min הסוגר ben biyom ben malayla hoche.
Sukkah ben yom lada. So we know that, right? Shluchim mitzvah pater. Keep going. Holchei drachim, which is the case we're going to do. I think some of the guys, I think 2 guys were there. Were you there? You heard Holchei. Oh yeah. Shh. When we do the sukkah, don't say anything. The Holchei drachim are people. Don't. The Holchei drachim are people who are doing what? Going out for business. All right. So if you go out for business, biyom pturim min sukkah biyom v'chayim b'layla. Keep going.
Yeah. Holchei drachim b'layla pturim min sukkah b'layla v'chayim biyom.
Good.
Shomrei ha'ir.
Now, who is Shomrei Ha'ir? Literally, what does Shomrei Ha'ir mean? You know this?
Potentially.
Guards of the city. Okay, so guards of the city. We're going to take up that case later. I'm doing this Rambam for a reason. Don't worry about this far now. Shomrei Ha'ir are pater from Sukkah b'yom b'chayim b'layla. Keep going.
Yeah, Shomrei Ha'ir b'layla pturim min sukkah b'layla v'chayim biyom.
Last case.
Shomrei ganot.
Ginot.
Who pardesim.
So these are guys who guard gardens. Okay.
Yeah. Pturim bein biyom bein b'layla she'im ye'aseh hashomer sukkah.
Yeda Haganav.
So yesh lishamor makom kavua.
So we're going to take up that case. It's a very fascinating case. But basically, the modern day equivalent, by the way, is a security guy sitting in a booth with television cameras. But basically, the idea here is that if he sits in a sukkah, then the ganav is going to know, oh, he's there. I'm just going to sneak around another way into the gan. So he can't know where he's located. That's the idea. All right. We're doing Rishimas Shiurim on Daf Chaf Hayim Abayz and Daf Tzadi Ches in the Rishimas Shiurim Sefer. Yeah, the Gemara.
Chadav Shoshvinin v'chol b'nei ha'chuka b'petrim min ha'sukkah. Fine. Ein b'Rashi
Ba'amor. Amazingly, so we did all the research to Rav did. Okay, now the Zel Lashon Haravid.
Zel Lashon Haravid. V'chatim b'shoshvinin b'nei chuppah lav oskei b'mitzvah. So they're not oskei b'mitzvah. V'ha de'pturei mitzukah. So they're patur from sukkah mishum mitztar, because they're mitztar. De'ilo chadu behadeh. Chatan kol sheva. So if
no, because by saying this, okay, you read the whole sentence. Ilu chadu b'hadi chasan kol sheva mitzdarim heim v'chasan u'mishum hachi chayav heim v'chol mitzvos chutz me'ela mishum shechus b'zam tefillin akal lashana. So basically, that's the second Gemara. Basically, what he's saying is that what state is the chasan in? What is his state of mind? He's if he was in the sukkah, what would his state of mind be? Mitztayer. That's what you need to know. He's mitztayer. Okay, Chassan, sukkah, mitztayer. Understand? Okay. Now the first move he makes is cute, not that relevant for what we're going to define soon, but it's an interesting thing in and of itself. So Al Pi Shitas Arrivad.
Al Pi Shitas Arrivad P'tur the Chatam Shofnim Sukkah Hu P'tur HaMitzvah. Mechevan Shelo Yismatu Simcha Gedola Hareira LeChatuna Im Yashva B'Sukkah.
Okay, so already he's giving us one little crumb, which is that what is the mitzvah? I mean, this isn't a big chiddush, obviously, but what's the mitzvah of the chassan? Exactly. So that's and by the way, which is not a crazy idea. Tosos's way of learning, how we said, by the way, Tosos's way of learning, right, which is that he can't perform the ideal. It's a very nice halachic idea. But the truth is, if you really ask someone, isn't mitzvah a better, just conceptually, isn't it a smoother idea? He's mitzvah.
It's more like quantitative, kind of. I mean,
no, but you know that if you ask a guy, the chassan, like, do I want to be in the sukkah? No. It's not, he's going to be, it's not as happy. It's not as happy. All right, keep going.
Ulai, nitin liyashev minhagam shel chasim b'chadim, she'ein ochlim et seudat hayomta b'sukkah b'yom shmini atzer.
All right, so the Rav now, he doesn't do this all the time, but the Rav wants to now defend a practice of certain Hasidim. Okay, there were Hasidim, right? That what do they do? Or I should say, they do. No, he means Hasidim today, like Hasidim. No, Hasidim Achadim, Hasidim Achadim, which means individual. I think he's referencing like certain sects, because you see that's why I asked about Chabad. Chabad does, right? So he's saying there's whatever. Let's make them one Samer, whatever it is.
Maybe certain individuals.
No, he means like a sect here, I think.
Oh, I was trying to fit the Ramchal into it.
Right. So he says there's certain Hasidim that don't eat their Sudas Yontav in the Sukkah on Yom Shmini Atzeres. All right. So let's make sure we get the facts of the case. Shmini Atzeres in America, right, is Shmini Atzeres in America is what? It's Sveka Diyoma, because we don't know, in quotes, we don't know, is it the last day of Sukkot or is it Shmini Atzeres? So what do we do with Safek? At night you sleep in the Sukkah, and during the day you eat, and that's your last day of being in the Sukkah. Okay, so your celebration of Shmini Atzeres in America is really Sveka Diyoma. So you should eat there, right? You should eat there, etc. You could be Mekel, by the way. That's the one day you could be most Mekel on, so far as like if hot, whatever it might be. Ulichora. But on the surface, you'd say, how is it possible they don't eat in the Sukkah on Shmini Atzeres? Where do they get that from? Okay. Right, which means what?
Seems to go against the Gemara.
Right. How can they pass it against the Gemara?
What, the ones that
don't eat.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gemara openly says, it's an open Gemara, it says that you eat in the Sukkah on Shmini Atzeres b'chutz la'aretz. Open Gemara. How do they go against? Yeah, open. How can they go against it? Now here comes some little bit of brisker innovation. Okay.
I love that. The halacha psuka bechol haposkim.
Right, and it's an open halacha. So now you're talking about these people not only going against the Gemara, they're going against every posek. Every posek. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people do it.
Right.
Amna. Yesh laimar shesovrim she'im ye'achlu yochlu besukkah tifku simchat yom shmini atzeres.
Okay, so maybe you'll say like this. Maybe you'll say that if they eat in the sukkah, if you eat in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres, right? Because remember, the day has both the din of the last day of Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres. If I go ahead and eat in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres, it's going to somehow destroy my simcha. It's going to remove my state of simcha. Simcha of what? Of Shmini Atzeres. Okay, so you gotta appreciate where he's going.
1 second. This is interesting.
The who?
Behu yom simcha gedola hadomer l'simchat chatan ve'shoshvini kol shela.
Now that's a little wacky, but he wants to say that the simcha of Shmini Atzeres, okay, is a tremendous day of simcha. It's Shmini Atzeres per se. Now, by the way, that's not. I don't know exactly where he gets that from, but that's not crazy. Only because the svara I had about Shmini Atzeres is really the yontav of all yontavs. It's like the super yontav. Right? Fine. But he wants to say the Simcha Yom Shmini Atzeres is equivalent to the Simcha of the Chassan and Kala. What's nice about that, based on what we were saying yesterday, if you hold this to be true, so you see you can mix and match Simchas.
Yes.
Okay? You can mix and match Simchas, halachically. Even though happiness-wise, you can't compare the happiness of Chassan and Kala to the happiness of Shmini Atzeres, but he's saying somehow you can. Now comes the drashy part. No, it's about to get really drashy. The Taimam.
Tamam mishum shesimchat Shmini Atzeret hi simchat haTorah, simchat Torah, simchat chatan lekala hachatan hakadosh baruch hu The Kulto.
Kolosso Yisrael, beautiful, right? So how is it like that? Because Shmini Atzeres is really Simchas Torah. Now that's a little difficult because Shmini Atzeres in America isn't really Simchas Torah, but whatever.
Is there Kedushas Hayom?
Of course. So he says, but the Simchas of Torah is similar to the Simchas Chassan Kala because the Chassan is like God and the Bnei Israel are like the Kala. Okay, cute. So he's pushing it forward, the idea of how you can equate the two. So I am Mefarshim.
I'm Mefarshim the Sefer Shir Shirim. The Yom Matan Torah Hi Yom HaChatuna Ben Hashem Yitbarach Yisrael.
Right. So you see that there's an idea, which is a true idea. There's an idea of Matan Torah being the wedding between God and the Jews. So therefore, Simcha Shmini Atzeres.
Simchat Shmini Atzeres Shehi Simchat Torah Havya.
Simchas Chasam Kala.
Simchat Chasam Kala. Ulechein Einam Yoshim B'Sukkah Midin HaMitzvah U'Shitat HaRayved.
Right. So, so with all that said, Ulam.
Ulam Minhag HaGrach. Who's the Grach?
You know who the Grach is. The Rechaim as well as Ramosha, meaning his father. So both the Rav's grandfather and his father. Hayalahakbid me'od l'sheves b'sukkah b'yom Shmini Atzeres. Right? They were very makbid to sit in Sukkah Shmini Atzeres. Keep going.
That's weird.
No, you'll see Kahara Sagra. No, they would eat in the
Kahara Sagra, okay.
Hammer for Zemis.
Hamid for Semes Kamin HaBeit HaRav.
Right, keep going. V'hayu nichnasim.
Nichnasim ve'ochlim b'sukkah v'shmini atzerev v'gam k'shiyardu geshamim kehurat hagra.
Right. So even if it rained, they would eat in the sukkah.
Why?
Okay, we'll explain that in a second. And so too, the Rav himself would also be very machmir about eating sukkah. Upam Rabos.
Upam Rabot Hora Lanu v'haz Hiranu lehakpid le'echol kol hasudot v'yontav v'shmini atzerev v'sukkah.
So many times the Rav and Shir remind the guys over and over again, please eat in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres. What was the hurrah of the Gra? Very famous. The problem was, let's put aside the Rav's defense, the problem was many Chassidim in the times of the Gra stopped eating in the sukkah. And the Gra was very against that. So, of course, with Pi Halacha makes no sense to say you see in the sukkah if it's raining, but to show that they're wrong, right? To show how wrong they are, he would ask people, please, even if it's raining, you should sit in the sukkah on Shmini Atzeres. Okay, that's how much the Gra was against the.
Don't smack me in the face.
Etzem Shitas arrived.
Etzem Shitas arrived at Timur. Interesting.
Why?
Ki lama lo yiftaru chatan ve'hashoshvinin v'kom mitzvah haTorah midin osek v'mitzvah pater min mitzvah.
Oh, all right. So he's asking a great question. He's saying, well, one second. Where did you get off saying that this is not a situation of asag mitzvah pater mitzvah? In other words, the Ravid's move is to say it can't be asag mitzvah pater mitzvah because why would the Gemara ever ask the question of michtiv mechlu b'sukkah? So it must be a kisujah to mitzvah. The Rav is like, well, one second, where'd you get that from? Why isn't it? It should be a case of asag mitzvah pater mitzvah. It's shivas mei mishnah. No one caught up on that question. That's okay.
Is it
Okay.
like the Ron?
Yeah.
The Rav.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why is it?
Isn't the chassid? He's asag mitzvah.
So the Chassan and Kala theoretically.
Shivas mei mishnah is asag mitzvah. Who said it wasn't? The Ravid. The Ravid saying it's the case of mitzvah. Says it's not asag mitzvah. How can he say it's not asag mitzvah? Where does he get that from?
Wait,
How can you just say that?
So
Because the
Chassan and Kala don't have to do any mitzvahs during Shivas
No,
Mei
it's
Mishnah.
Well, hold on. Well, let's not get extreme yet.
What was the Gemara thing?
that privilege?
Just give your psak.
Well, we got to find out. But the Rav's question is,
Yeah.
where do you get off saying this is not a situation of asag mitzvah? The Rav is saying if it was, why is it? Well,
You can't say.
let's let him speak. Hold on.
You can't say it would be.
Well, but he's asking the question. You're saying because in the Gemara it makes no sense, right?
And that's how he holds all the time. So
Fine, but the Rav is saying, but you can't just say it's not asag mitzvah. In other words, you can't to get out of a crazy situation. You can't just posit an even more absurd answer. The answer is more absurd than the question. That's what the Rav is saying. It's more absurd. It's crazy. How can you say that? L'chora. Now here it comes. Here comes the move. Okay.
Sover mishum mitzvah simchas chatan ein hachatan ve'ashoshvinin beklal osek b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah mipnei she'ein l'simcha ma'aseh mitzvah
All right, so this is his first move. So he wants to say one possibility is you could say that what?
He's taking out that brisk dictionary.
Right. But you can say what? You can say that You can say that. Well, he's not. Why is he not? Why is this not a situation of asuk mitzvah?
Brisker thesaurus, rather.
Right, but why is that? Why is it not defined as asuk?
Because there's no Misa.
Well, be careful. No Maisa mitzvah misuyam. Remember, one second. There's no complete. There's no tsuras Maisa mitzvah. The Chassan was. Remember, the Chassan pre-wedding is for sure asuk mitzvah because he's tarad, right? But here, tarad doesn't work. So now, what are you going to tell me? Is there any structure to the Maisa mitzvah here?
No.
What's the Maisa mitzvah of Shivas Mei Mishta? To be happy. What does that mean? So keep going. Let him finish, and then you can start barking. Go. Dafka.
Dafka mitzvat hana sot al yudei pe'ula
Chedes.
miyuchedet misuyemet
Kamo.
netilah lulav v'kedoma.
So you have to have a specific, defined action. Okay, like picking up a lulav. I am asuk. I'm picking up a lulav. But what are you doing by Shivas Mei Mishta? You're celebrating, right? That's not a Maisa mitzvah. So potros.
Potro midin osek b'mitzvah patur mitzvah. Biram svar zu eno mit yashevet im divrei hashas.
But that's not going to work. Why is it not going to work?
Sheshaluchem mitzvah lilmod Torah paturim midin osek b'mitzvah. V'harei b'halichatan leika masa mitzvah misuya ela hitaskut klalit b'mitzvah.
Okay, so what's he saying? Why won't that answer work? What is he saying?
It's too damn vague.
No.
Shluchei mitzvah is also
Not defined.
mitzvah.
Not
Right.
Suros mitzvah.
Right. Okay. Right. And they're pater.
That was the
Good.
example
All
we
right. So
already
good. So Baruch Shekimanta.
Thank God.
Okay. So the Rav says you can't use that answer. Why? Because
It's terrible.
you see shluchei mitzvah are also pater from mitzvah, and they're not doing anything. They're let's say it's shas chaniyasam. Let's say they're camping out for the night. Right? They're sleeping in a bed. They're not doing anything. They're not doing a Maisa mitzvah. So to that argument, so you can't tell me the reason why the Chassan is pater, right? Or why it wouldn't be an asuk mitzvah is because of it's lacking its source Maisa. That's not true. That's not going to work.
Was he attempting to?
So now the Rav rejects that possibility. He says what? He says, "But why so there?"
Lysogar haravad she'ein b'simchada chatuna tirda de mitzvah. Aval svara zot eina mitkabelet al hadad v'shitata.
Sorry, Ian. All right. So maybe the Rav held that there's no simcha of tirda de mitzvah by the case of the Chassan. Okay, now, we just mentioned that before. Maybe that's the other avenue you can go on. Maybe you'll say that why is he not? Because why wouldn't it be asuk, right? Because he's not tarad. But the Rav's saying you can't say that either. You'll see why in a second. In other words, you'll say this. You'll say maybe by the case of the Chassan pre Shivas Mei Mishta, he's tarad. Post Shivas Mei Mishta, he's not tarad. So maybe remember. His askus of the Chassan is based on tirda. There's no Maisa by the Chassan. He's supposed to be Yoshiv Batal. He's thinking about having bia with his wife, right? So that produces his askus. So maybe you'll say the same thing by Shivas Mei Mishta. Maybe the celebration after the wedding also. So maybe you'll say that's what the Rav held, and that's why he's not asuk. But the Rav says you can't say that either, which we're going to find out why in a second. Okay? Was that right?
Im mishu yivato mitzvah mipnei mitzvah sukkah. Az hu pater misukkah midina hamitzvah. V'hu pater miyuchad sukkah.
Okay, so fasten your seatbelts. Okay, this is really fascinating stuff. All right, right. Conceptual seatbelt. Okay. Umikol makom harayv mechadesh. So the Rav is coming up with a chiddush. She'im mishu yivatel mitzvah is someone. Okay, listen what he says. Someone was mivatel a mitzvah, mipnei mitzvah sukkah because of the mitzvah of sukkah. Because of that, us who pater misukkah medina mitzvah. That's what makes him. That's why he's pater from sukkah from mitzvah. The mitzvah is just reading what he's saying before we explain it. The mitzvah is the fact that I'm being mivatel from a mitzvah. What does that mean?
Can you back up? Are you mavatoing the sukkah or are you mavatoing something else?
Very strange.
Right, so watch.
Recap.
There's no recap yet. Let me read what he says and then we'll do recap. Go. Keep going.
Well, wait a second. It's being
The Ram, he wants to say the Ram agrees there's this unique tour that applies to Sukkah. Okay? As he's going to quote from the Rama. Okay? Okay, so we read the Rama already. We read that. But okay, so what's he trying to get at? You'll see. After reading the whole Rama, okay, go down to the where it says Mizeh to the period.
Yeah. Mizeh Rambam Kolal Hatur של שלוחי מצווה עם הפטור של הולכי דרכים בשומרי העיר.
Okay, so again, no one noticed that. It's strange. The Rambam, okay, in one halacha, puts together what? He puts together shluchei mitzvah. Why are they pater?
Same reason that.
No, but they shouldn't be though. On the surface, he's about to say they are. But I'm saying, what does shluchei mitzvah have in common with holchei derech? Shluchei mitzvah are pater because pater mitzvah, right? Holchei derech are pater because for some other reason. Right? We'll get to that. But it's not certainly not because of asuk mitzvah. You can't say someone who's holach derech or shomer ginos. He's not asuk mitzvah. But yet the Rambam puts it together in one category.
It's walking.
No, shomer ginos. He's doing a job. He's getting paid to watch the field. That's not asuk mitzvah.
It's a mitzvah.
It's not a mitzvah though. Not a mitzvah.
Osek the mitzvah.
Right, bin mitzvah, not asuk. Mizej Ram kol pater, right? Muchach.
מוכח שלדעתו יש פטור מיוחד בסוכה מדין תשו כאין תדור גם לשלוחי מצווה לשאר המתעסקים במצווה.
So there's a special patur that applies by Sukkah, right, from the halacha of Teshu Kein Teduru, okay, that applies to Shluchei Mitzvah as well as other, that you can take from Shluchei Mitzvah to other cases of Misaskim and Mitzvahs, okay? Anyone know what he's talking about yet?
Nope.
Soon, we're getting there. You'll see, keep going. I'll go and then we'll go back and I'll show you exactly what he's saying. Yotze Efo.
Yotze Efo. שאף להרמב"ם פטור העוסק מצווה מישיבת סוכה הוא משום דין המצטער. אך בזה לוקים?
Right, it should be machlokim, whatever. Lokim around Rambam, they're arguing.
לוקים הרמב"ם ורייבד, okay? מהרמב"ם נראה דפטור מצטער חל לכל עוסק במצווה ואליבא דהרייבד חל פטור המצטער רק במקום שהישיבה בסוכה
Tigrom,
batul mitzvah acheret.
Now, okay, that's the key thing. What we're saying right there is what his svara is. So he wants to say this again. Patur ha'osek mitzvah. What's the patur? Ha'osek b'mitzvah mishiva sukkahu mishum dimistar. If I am asuk in mitzvah, okay, and I go sit in the sukkah, what's going to happen? Why?
Because you're osek in mitzvah.
Well, no, because I'm also in the mitzvah right now. Yeah. What's going to happen if I have to go into the sukkah? I'm no longer, and that's mitzvah.
So why would you done it first?
The Rav is presenting is that the mitzvah of there's a unique mitzvah that exists by the mitzvah sukkah. And what's that mitzvah? Normally mitzvah is, give me an example of mitzvah.
Coming directly hot.
Right, it's too hot, okay? But this is the very fact I'm asuk in a mitzvah. If I have to leave that state of hisaskus, that's a mitzvah. If I went to the sukkah, let's go back to the beginning of the paragraph. Mikol makom. So mikol makom arrive in mechade. She'im mishu yivatal mitzvah b'nei mitzvah sukkah. Right? If someone would have to be mevatal a mitzvah, meaning I'm asuk in mitzvah A, I'm involved in my mitzvah. But because of sukkah, I had to give up that mitzvah. Oh, zupater misukah. So again, it's so cool. He said it's weird but cool. He's saying like a black hole. He's saying that if I go ahead, right? If I go ahead and the chiyuv of sukkah now emerges, right? And I'm asuk in a mitzvah, right? I'm doing my mitzvah right now, whatever that mitzvah is. We'll call it. Let's say it's the case of the chassan. Okay, I'm involved, but don't think about simcha for a second. I'm just involved in my chassan action. And now I got to leave my chassan state and go into the sukkah, right? A natural patur emerges from sukkah, right? There's a very institution of sukkah that tells you don't go into the sukkah because it's a mitzvah. And what's the mitzvah? That I got to leave my state of mitzvah.
It's the law of mitzvah inertia. That a chassan.
Mizeh she'Rambam kola patur shel shluchei mitzvah patur shel holchei drachim shomer muchach shel daito yesh patur miyuchad b'sukkah. There's a unique patur. Where does that come from though? Midin teshu kein teduru. Whenever you have a patur by sukkah, it's always based on what? It's got to somehow be linked to teshu kein teduru. You live
in your house.
Right. So he's going to say, okay. He's going to say what? So whatever. What's his point? How's it tied into teshu kein teduru? So clearly the Rambam holds, but the Rambam holds that the patur for the patur, right, is if I'm asuk a mitzvah, I'm patur from yeshiva sukkah, right, because of mitzvah, because it would be mitzvah for me to leave my state of mitzvah and go into sukkah. Okay, and here's the machlokas Rambam Ravid. Mer Rambam nira the patur mitzvah chal lechol osek mitzvah. So that's why the Rambam collates together shluchei mitzvah and Shomrei Ginos and Shomrei Ir. All those cases are cases of what?
Of tar and
Sorry.
No, we can't. Well, they're all cases of
Lakatation.
like a Teshuvah Kain Taduru. Okay,
Like a what was?
Teshuvah Kain Taduru. You live in your sukkah like you live in your house. Okay.
And which
So the
things are
problem
like
with
that?
shluchim
Which things
mitzvah-
are like that? Which things are like that? You just said it.
Oh, like let's say like Shomrei Ir. Don't ask me why yet. We didn't define
What do
that.
these words mean?
It means guards in the city. Guards in the city are patur from sukkah. We'll get to why later. That's two sukkah. It's coming up in 2 weeks. We'll be able to do
I
that.
don't get what you're saying, fam. Whatever. All right.
All right, don't worry. So I'll go a little further, okay? But as the Rabbit holds, that leave the Rabbit chal p'tura mitzvah rak b'makom sheyeshiva b'sukkah tigron b'tel mitzvah cheres. So the Rabbit says no. Mitzvah, the p'tura mitzvah only applies where if I sat in the sukkah, and that's what I want to focus on. I don't want to worry about the Rambam now. I want to focus on the Rabbit. If I sat in the sukkah, what would happen? I would now not be able to do my first mitzvah. If I leave my chuppah, my bias, to go into my sukkah, right? And can I do my mitzvah chuppah anymore? No, it's not going to be the same mitzvah, right? So therefore, that's a mitzvah. If there's a mitzvah knowing I can't do my mitzvah anymore, that produces tsar in the individual. Okay? So if you skip to one more paragraph, he's talking liyashiv al piyadeh shep tur shal mitzvah. I don't know what that word is. I can't read it. Dafka b'yom ha'acherim shel chag about lo b'la rishon. V'ila p'tur shel oseg mitzvah. Right, but he says, but even according to that position, the p'tur mitzvah would only apply by all days other than the first day. Okay, if ilu p'tur shel oseg mitzvah noah gam b'la rishon v'chein shulchin mitzvah p'tur gam b'la rishon, that's a he leaves it as sarachian. Whether the first night, does this work by the first night or not?